Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest Kolpack and Izzo podcast, brought to you by Gate City Bank with Jeff Kolpack. I'm Dom Izzo. North Dakota State football set to begin season 127 on Saturday afternoon as the Drake Bulldogs from the Pioneer Football League make their debut at the Fargo Dome. You'll see it live on WDAY, 2:30. Bison game day will get you started at 10 a.m. on Saturday. And here we are, Jeffrey, a new football season ready to roll. As we tape this is the first night, really, of the college football season. The juices are going. I'm ready to roll here.
I can't believe you set yourself up for a easy platter shot at me. Season 127, you'd say, "Oh, here's a guy who's covered half of them."
No, I would never do that.
Yes, you would.
Never would do that.
You got to get on your game, buddy.
I'm on my game. Don't you worry. I don't need to take any pod shots at you. We got a long season to go. I'm pacing myself.
There's plenty of time.
We got a long season here.
You're right.
So we've had a couple days to digest from Matt Entz's press conference on Monday of the position battles that we had been focused on throughout the offseason and through fall camp. I think the one that still sticks out more to me, and I may be making more of this, is kicker. It's going to be really interesting to see how it's not going to, I think, be a deal the first two games. But as we get going, I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out.
All right, so I'll do a little age thing for you. Back in the day.
There you go. Thank you.
Back in the day, Rocky Hager was head coach, and in the 80s, they didn't really care about kicker because A, there wasn't a whole lot of scholarships. B, it was all about the veer and running down the throat, and who's ever available can kick was sort of the kicker. They tried to recruit a kicker, but they didn't try to recruit a kicker. Sometimes it was a guy, a walk-on or whatever. It just didn't seem like a priority. And so, really didn't need it for the most part. But I think you do, obviously, in this day and age. Jake, man, they've had good kickers in the Division I era. Ryan Holtz was tremendous.
Ryan Jastrom was really good.
Keller was
Adam
tremendous.
Keller set every record,
except for that one kick in the title game.
The 2012 championship game. And then Cam Peterson arguably
really
has
good.
the two biggest kicks ever. He beat Iowa and Youngstown State on the road.
So you can't discount the position.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. I think is what you were getting at. It's a big deal. Griffin Cross has experience.
Yes.
Yep. 2019, he took over when Jake got hurt. Will Cardinal has a better leg, so apparently we're going to see him in longer field goals. I don't know if that's what you really want.
Yeah, That's not ideal. It can't be
ideal. It's
ideal.
not ideal
No.
at the least.
Yeah, that's just for Bison fans. Is that maybe not Saturday or the following Saturday? That's something. Just keep an eye on, because I think linebacker will sort itself out. I really do. There may be two guys at middle to start, but I think by the time that the Bison play South Dakota, they're going to have a starting middle linebacker.
And you look at Northern Iowa with a guy like Matthew Cook, who they trust the world in. Anytime they get within range of 55 yards or in, they feel like
he's automatic.
They got 3 points.
Yep.
That's a big difference. Now, Bison don't play Northern Iowa. Maybe in the playoffs, you don't know. But a kicker is a big deal.
Yep.
And I'm with you on that one. It's something to keep an eye on.
You think middle linebacker sorts itself out?
I agree. I think Kubitz and Wiertz are both pretty good. They're both been in the program a while.
Yep.
And so they know the position, not like you're throwing some redshirt freshman in who has hardly played or even a true guy. So you know that at least one of those two knows how to handle the position. Now, are they good enough to play it at a high level? I guess we will see with that.
I'm interested you mentioned, because you don't see Cole Wisniewski's name, so it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. But he's lurking out there. You know what I mean? He's coming back sometime, but for Julian Wodarczyk, Oscar Benson, this is a huge opportunity for them to potentially shine here and make an imprint.
And another good reason to develop depth, and because they have to. They need one of those guys to take the job of Wisniewski until.
And Kaiser's been hurt, and that's another spot. Logan Kopp might be another guy there that Kaiser's battled injuries during his time.
Do you want Kaiser there every rep?
Maybe not. I thought as the season went along, Kaiser got better. When he missed from after UND, we didn't really see him until South Dakota State, and he was not good in the Jacks game. But after that, as he got healthier, he got better out there on the field.
Yeah, a tough guy. I mean, he's a tough guy. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's a tough guy. And, sometimes tough guys, they're almost too tough for their own good, if that makes sense. That they got to stick their nose in and hit so hard that maybe it ends up, hurting themselves physically. I don't know. I've never been, concerned, I guess is the word, about the Bison linebackers. They've always been good since in the Division I era. They've always been good. I mean, you go back to Ramon Humber, for God's sakes, Joe Mays, they made the NFL.
Yep. I think more of your attention, frankly, is up front, correct? The defensive line is where you've kept your eyes on?
Nah, not really. The most starts, I think, are tremendous players. I think Javier Darrett really got better last year. On the outside, you got Wagey coming back. Now he's got to stay healthy, and he's got to be that Braden Thomas guy that just makes life miserable on the opposing quarterback.
Tony Pierce is one I'll keep an eye on, too, because I thought Tony at the end of last season was trending in a way like, okay, he could be the disruptor like you're talking about to get to the quarterback.
And is LaShaka Roke's big enough to make a difference on the outside?
I love his ability. I don't know about size yet, but we're going to see him play a heck of a lot more.
Dylan Hendricks now. There's a guy who was very highly recruited. It's taken a couple years, but obviously the ability is there, and he's on the 2 deep without even playing yet.
Yeah. Well, he had a good spring. Every indication was that he had a really, really solid spring. So, and we've already mentioned it last week on the podcast. What the Bison have on the back end is as deep as they've ever had, and I think as best talent-wise they've ever had. With all apologies to Dudzik and Heagle and Marcus and C.J. Smith, you look at, and those are all phenomenal football players. This group of 4 with Weber at Tutsi, Jaden Price, Destin Talbert, Courtney Eubanks, Marquis Siegel, Dom Jones. I mean, those are starters anywhere else.
It's deep. Yeah, it's deep. And that allows you to rotate, and it's a position I think you can rotate at corner.
Now you play some of those guys. Maybe Tutsi's playing linebacker in certain spots.
Maybe
in nickel.
Maybe. Dom Jones is big enough.
Yeah. Yep.
He's 6'3".
People forget how good of a player he was in the spring season.
Siegel's not small either.
No. And he had a pick in that Indiana State game last year. He's shown it, and he came in when Tutsi got hurt in the national championship game. You saw him play back there. They're going to be A-okay on that on the back end for 2022.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
The great offensive line mind that you are. Do they rotate 9 guys?
I don't know about 9. I think 8 probably to start. Maybe they get to 9.
Which is more than usual.
Yeah, but I think you're going to see 8. I think Brandon Westberg is going to play a lot at center. I saw a couple practices. Jalen Sundell was flanked out at both guard and tackle, which is what he was recruited to NDSU to play.
And the Missouri High School Offensive Player of the Year, and he was an offensive lineman.
Yes. People forget that about how – and he never played center before until that first game of the spring season of 2021.
So he's athletic is what you're saying.
I think you see Westberg up there. Mason Miller's going to play, obviously, quite a bit. They like, obviously, with Kubis. Mauk is not going anywhere, and Nash Jensen is a starter. And then Gray's there. So, yeah, I think 8 comfortably, and I think they eventually get to 9. That Jake Rock has already started a game. Ponch is on the depth chart now.
Okay, we'll see, because you like the continuity of offensive linemen out there on a consistent basis.
Yep.
So we will see on
Flexibility is important. I think that be able to, because you saw Sundell went down a couple times last year, and I think you'd agree with me. Westberg came in and passed with flying colors. He started that Northern Iowa game. It was really good.
What are we, 8 minutes into this podcast?
Yes.
What does this all mean? Okay, and again, let me ask you this question. What we've talked about for 8 minutes, what do you think it all means? And I'll give you my answer.
It means that they are
It means
totally loaded with players. They're deep.
It means you're going to be good in November and December. That's what it means.
Yep. If injuries hit, this team is not dropping off.
They hit everybody.
But it hits them different. Where a Carson Camp got hurt, it derailed USD. They were not as good for the rest of the season. If Cam Miller were to go down, I think the Bison staff would tell you they believe Cole Payton could carry the mail for them and not hurt their offensive play calling ability. I believe that.
I think there's only one player that they can't have not go down.
Who's that?
Hunter Lipke.
Okay.
I think he and be in contention and really get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
I think he's that good.
Craig Haley has him as the Walter Payton winner. I don't know if you saw that. Projected Walter Payton winner for 2022.
We'll see if he gets enough carries and enough touches.
Stats, right?
Stats.
It's such a stats award.
Randy Hedberg said that yesterday as we were just shooting around with him. He goes, stats. I think he was lamenting when Stick didn't get it one year on the Walter
and
Payton.
Strevler, both of them. Both of them earned that award back to back. It totally is. That's why I think still to this day that Trey Lance won it. We're still odd that happened. If he had thrown a pick in 2019, he wouldn't have won it. I don't think he would have won the award. I honestly believe that. That's a good pick on Hunter Lipke. I tend to agree with that, considering the running backs have been so replaceable and interchangeable.
He's just so unique.
Lipke brings a different aspect to him.
And again,
you know?
I go back. He's deceptively fast and deceptively quick, and he makes the right move. His vision is really incredible. I mean, is NFL level. He sees the cutback. He sees and it has a good feel of where to go with the ball once he's in the mix of it.
I'll see Craig Haley's prediction and raise it that both Lipke and Eli Mostert, are going to be finalists for their respective awards, for the Peyton and the Buchanan. I know it's a stats award. I think that theirs will be overwhelming enough to not ignore for the voters in the nation. We'll see. You know how that goes with them, but we'll see about that.
Doesn't help in stats when you're going to win 55-0 on
correct.
Saturday.
Well, that's the thing. Let's talk about this Drake Bulldogs team. You and I have each had a chance to visit with the team. Todd Stepsis, I thought, was great. The head coach was very out front, said that he's had alums, donors come and say, why are you playing this game? It sounds sadistic to go and do this, but this is what he wants out of his football program. They are not a bad Pioneer team. They have finished in the top half.
They've been a lot 7-4.
Yeah. They've had a winning record 10 of the last 12 years. So this is not Valpo for people that are out there. I'm not saying that this is going to be a 28-24 football game, but this is not a bottom-rung Pioneer Football League team, traditionally.
Yeah, the problem with Drake is the pandemic really ruined this program.
Yeah.
That was the year they had a bunch of fifth-year seniors, and they were looking at a pretty good season. And here's the problem with a non-scholarship school like Drake is when the fall 2020 season was canceled, they had all these fifth-year seniors. They didn't want to go another year and pay tuition.
I don't blame them one iota there.
Not cheap going to Drake.
No.
And so you need to pay your way unless you're on academic scholarship. But I think if you're at a point academically where the school would say, hey, you've already done your stuff, we're not paying you anymore, I guess that could happen.
I talked to Ryan Criseri yesterday, a 6-year guy, and I asked him about that. And he said, it was a really tough decision, but me and my family are in a financial spot where I could do this. I wanted to come back and I wanted to play another year of football. That's really rare in this type of setting for this particular school that have guys come back like that. Yeah,
and it's a private school, and again, tuition is something that you have to deal with for most families, I would imagine.
Steps has told me that he's changed his offense, more of an offensive running oriented game. They wanted to throw it a bit. That didn't really work. They only averaged 12 points a game last season, really struggled in close games. That they've changed that up. And, they can also, I don't know if it's a bragging right, Jeff, that they are, within the last calendar year, played both of the finalists in the national championship game. They were in Bozeman last year, and now they're in Fargo this year.
Yeah, I talked to the head coach, Stepsis, and, so they go to Montana State, and he said it was Montana State's first home game.
Yeah.
Since because they missed that year of the pandemic.
Right.
And he said the fans did their research to the point where they knew players' first names and they knew the wives of coaches. Some of these fans.
I would say
Drake.
The experience they had in Bozeman will be raised a bit. With the banner going up, this is going to be a juiced-up environment on Saturday at the Fargo Dome.
You're not to get the scenery that you do of the mountains of the Rockies, but
I love Bozeman. Bobcat Stadium's awesome out there, but this is a different environment. And then he well recognized that, and so do the players I visited with on Wednesday about that this is something we're going to take in, but we're here to do a job. We're going to play a football game.
Who was the program that came here and they had their players come out and watch the intro? Do you remember that? Just to take in the whole shebang.
It might have been North Alabama.
That's what it was.
I think it was North Alabama because that was their first year of Division I football they gave the Bison a half that they played really well. And I think that's a program going down the road in FCS. They need them to be good, but that was them. I think UNA came out to see everything just because they wanted to experience what this is like. I don't know if Drake's going to do that on Saturday, but this is a game. This and the next game are honestly, Jeff, for NDSU to figure out who can play and what kind of depth they have if they need it when they get to October and November, in my estimation.
I'll say this, and I want to save a little bit for the pregame show, but I'll just give this a little tidbit that I think one of the reasons that NDSU will not overlook any game this year is because of that depth and the starters need to keep their jobs.
That's a good point. Yep.
I'll just leave it at that.
There are some that, I don't know if tenuous is the right word, but they got guys behind them. They got guys behind them that want to play.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good tease that we'll have feature on the show on Saturday. I want to ask you about a couple big picture things before we do some game picks and wrap this up. It looks like, again, this time, though, the presidents have gotten involved in major college football because Friday it looks like there's going to be a vote for expansion of the college football playoff. I love this, that the presidents saw that the ADs left $500 million on the table. So you could have got this much money, and why didn't you expand? And now it looks like this is going to happen, which I'll argue in a couple years' time, this could be as big as March Madness. If you have a 12-team playoff of major college football, that could be on those 3 weekends in December. Look out, man.
Assuming the Power 5 doesn't break off.
They're going to do their own thing, but it's still this
Do you
college
think that
football.
They would include the group of 5 in their playoff?
I don't think so. Eventually, but
so
maybe
why
for
go
the
to 12? Then?
Maybe because it's the SEC, the Big Ten can get more of their schools
So
into
it's a glorified conference tournament between the 3 power conferences.
Yep.
Pretty much.
But the amount of money on there is just going to be too much for them
they
to
keep it at 12 anyway.
I think that's and then for everybody else can make up their own mind on what they want to do for the group of 5 and FCS on how they want to, I would think, form something together and go forward. But I think that will happen eventually. The other big thing that came down, there are now transfer windows that are going to be applied starting for this academic year, which is 45 days after the championship selection. You have to go into the transfer portal in football. So Selection Sunday is what? November 20th, let's just say. So 45 days from that. So that gets you to mid-January, right after the national championship game in FCS and FBS football, that you can go into the portal.
So basically, you need to decide if you want to be back for the second semester.
Right. Now, there is another window that opens in early May, but this is what I think it's a smart move that you're not going to have guys, frankly, like Jasir Cox decided in February, end of February, that he was going into the portal. That is not, you cannot do that now. You'd have to make up your mind well before that or well after the school year is over.
And it still would give a school until the second signing date to maybe address that position change.
Yep. So then
which is first week of February.
The first Wednesday of February where you could address it. Now that becomes maybe a little bit more important than it has since the early signing period has kind of totally taken the air out of that first Wednesday in February. Now that becomes a little bit more important. I think this was a smart move. They needed some sort of structure there, right?
Yeah, just some control. Now we'll see if they stick to it.
Well, that's a whole other deal.
There's appeals, right?
Right. They're always there. So here we go with the new FCS season. I'm looking at the games this weekend, and you're talking about the Power 5 doing its own thing, and I've been stressing this week on my show for fans of this division to just enjoy this weekend as much as you can, because I hope these games don't go away, Jeff. The FCS programs need them for the money, clearly, but for fans of this, if you're a South Dakota State fan, a UND fan, Illinois State fan, they're going to experience 3 of the great venues in college football, whether it's Kinnick Stadium, Camp Randall, or Memorial Stadium. That just doesn't happen in FCS.
Yeah, 3 in the best of the Big Ten, other than Michigan, right. Ohio State. You probably throw those 3 in the next.
I put those
order.
3 as iconic in college football. Those 3 that all Valley schools are going to be at
Penn
this
State,
weekend.
I guess.
Yep, and Happy Valley.
Yep.
But Camp Randall, Kinnick, and Memorial Stadium, I put that up against anywhere, and that's where those 3 teams are going to play this weekend.
Good for them.
I just hope they don't go away.
Yep.
That's, Barry Alvarez tried to do it about a decade ago, and it worked for a couple years.
Your buddy Jim Delaney wanted to do away with it.
He did. And then the likes of Purdue, Illinois, Indiana got in his ear and said, hey, we can't make a bowl game if we don't play an FCS team. And that's how they came back on the schedule, Rutgers. But I look at that this weekend, and I'm just like, yeah, these are some good ones. Is there a game, as you look at those, that any team should be on upset alert?
Oh, Iowa for sure.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, it was proven in 16 that Iowa's pretty good in 16. Look at the NFL players on that Iowa team.
George Kittle. George Kittle being one of them. Desmond King, another one.
The quarterback made the Niners.
Beathard, yep. Was a pretty good Beathard, was a pretty good quarterback. Yes. You think the Jacks have a shot?
I think they're good. No, if they're good enough defensively, we will see. But Certainly when Stiglmeyer.
Yeah, Stig said this is the best offense they've had.
Best skill players he's ever had.
Best skilled players he's ever had.
Yes, that's what he said.
He's had Pierre Strong. Okay, he had Dallas Goedert.
Yep.
He had Jake Winicky.
Collectively, the best skill players collectively he's ever had.
Okay. He had Taryn Christian, who was really good. Okay, he's got Tucker Kraft. He's got Zach Hines. He's got Mark Gronowski back.
The Yonke brothers.
He's got the Yankees back. He's got
Yonke.
Yeah, it's Yonke. He's got Isaiah Davis back. No doubt. On skill, they are. Gronowski's a question mark to me. I want to see it. He was great in the spring. We all have our opinions on how we validate the spring or not. Let's see it how he does in the first game, especially after a really serious knee injury that he had. Mm-hmm. Now we're talking, what is that, 16 months ago when he got hurt against Sam Houston in May of 2021. I think Iowa's going to handle him. I do. I think Iowa's good.
What are you looking at?
I would look at as a close game, maybe the UND-Nebraska game. I do.
I don't see it.
It's either going to go two ways. Either
you say Nebraska could quit on Scott Frost already?
Either Nebraska's going to blow them out, or this game is probably within 10 to 14. That's how I don't see UND winning it, but either it's going to be a complete butt kicking by the Huskers and say, we're going to come out here and play for Scott Frost, or UND hangs around and maybe makes this a game.
Kirk Herbstreit, before the season, had Nebraska in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah. Can you go back and redo that?
Well, I guess that tells me that he thinks there's talent there.
Yep. I'll give you one other. Our friend Chris Kleiman might have a game with South Dakota. Nielsen knows how to coach. I like Carson Camp. I'm interested to see how that game goes Saturday night down in Manhattan. That could be, what do you think? Is that closer than, or is K-State cruise there?
I think K-State cruises. I think they're pretty good this year.
All right.
Deuce Vaughn is one of the best running backs in the country.
He's got a team. There's no doubt. Illinois State at Wisconsin. McFeely brought this up with me about Brock Spack, that you better win this year. New AD there, do they make a change in Illinois State?
Well, since 2014 when he made the national title game, it's been tough.
Yep. Tough sledding there.
Tough sledding for Brock.
What do you think? I tend to agree with that opinion.
He's so very well liked. You don't want to see it, but I guess the results are the results. And they were not good last year.
Nope. It seems like forever ago.
Have not found a quarterback, and now they're tying their anchor to Zach Zanestead.
Yeah, Minnesota former Gopher
who's
quarterback.
In his 5th year of school, and I think he's still a junior or something like that.
Northern Iowa plays Air Force Saturday. That's another one I keep an eye on.
UNI's tough in these FBS games. They are tough. They've routinely, Mark Farley knows how to play these games. And they've won a couple over the years.
They've beaten they got Iowa and they got Iowa State, so that might be something to keep an eye on Saturday. That'll be intriguing. You want to make a couple picks here before we won't give them all away for Saturday.
Yeah,
okay, I'm picking
a couple nuggets.
I'm giving you different games than we're going to have on Saturday. All right, so let's roll here. Oregon and Georgia, big game, the Chick-fil-A kickoff game down in Atlanta. Georgia, the national champs.
Oregon lost its head coach.
Yep, Mario Cristobal's in Miami now.
I think Georgia's got it going. And where's the game at?
It's in Atlanta. It's a neutral site game down there.
But it's still Georgia.
Yeah, technically neutral site game.
I'll take the team with the best defense, and that's Georgia.
All right, got Georgia there. Saturday night primetime game on WDAY. 5th-ranked Notre Dame at 2nd-ranked Ohio State. The Buckeyes are a 17-point favorite.
Yeah, I think they're going to win comfortably. I think the coaching change in South Bend is a big deal.
Marcus Freeman now the coach there.
Ohio State's got
Loaded.
a lot of votes right now to be a national title team. And after losing to Michigan, the Big Ten title, they got something to prove here.
Yeah, that game at the end of November is going to be something else there between those two teams with Michigan and Ohio State. I tend to agree with you.
Is Harbaugh still wearing the khaki pants?
He ain't changing that. That works, man. He's not gonna go away from that. Let's do a couple FCS games before we go. Northwestern State, one of your favorite stops in FCS football. They're in Missoula on Saturday. But Bobby Hauck's got a lot of hype around the Grizz this year.
You mean Natchitoches? It's too bad it's not in Natchitoches, Louisiana, home of the Natchitoches meat pie.
What do you make of the Grizz?
If the Grizz have them at home, Northwestern State's not been good over the years. I just can't imagine them going into Missoula and winning.
This is the only ranked game that got my attention. Southern Illinois at the Word. Southern Illinois Incarnate Word Saturday night. Going to be warm down in San Antonio. This is a good game. I like this one.
This is a big game for Southern Illinois to get off in the national landscape of a good win. They're experienced enough, and I know Nick Baker's 5'9", but the guy makes plays. He set the season record for single season record for passing yards at SIU last year. I got SIU because of a lot of players back. You got to remember Javon Williams Jr.
still
is
there.
back for his 8th year
Avante
of college.
Cox is still there at the outside with SIU. I hear you. Cam Ward left the Word. He's now the quarterback at Washington State. I like the Word in this game. I'm going to take. I think they've built something there. You were on them a lot when they came up here. You told me keep an eye on this. They're in that area. If they invest in it, which they have, they're going to be good. You were right, and I'm going to pick that just because of that.
Just because of my college game day pick
from 2014 on the Incarnate Word. I'll take them over Southern Illinois. Reminder, we've got a huge day of coverage coming up on Saturday. Kolpack will join myself, Kyle Emanuel, and Logan Campbell for Bison Game Day at 10 a.m. Saturday morning on WDAY. He's already telling me he needs like 3 minutes for his pick on Saturday to end the show. It is statewide, so you can get a chance to see Kolpack from Williston to Dickinson to Wahpeton coming up on Saturday morning. Then our Bison kickoff show goes at 2:20 Saturday. You'll get to see the championship banner go up. The Bison come out of the helmet, all the usual traditions of a Bison home game, and then kick off about 2:35, everything on WDAY. And new this year, if you are in the television footprint of WDAY, you can stream the games on WDAY Sports Plus at Inforum.com for $9.99 a month. You can watch the games, and I know people might moan about paying, but that's streaming is not free. And you can watch the games at Inforum.com. That's a really neat feature, though, that we've added this year. I think people will enjoy.
And I think that's just the way things are going.
Yep.
And we'll see what other means we will have to bring the content to people.
It's ever-changing from how we started doing this when we were doing our blog over in the garage here at WDAY. What we do now.
Okay, radio, my golf show.
Yeah.
You and I have been doing the Bison video blog and started with Hallstrom back in 2007. Pre-game show, TV, streaming, Inforum. I'm still a writer, aren't I?
Allegedly. You still do that from time to time. So that is the latest edition of the Kolpack and Izzo podcast. Have a great couple days, everybody. Enjoy game day, and we'll see you on Saturday.